Now, a chord progression is simply a succession of musical chords, but when it's done the right way, a chord progression gives each chord a purpose, making your music more compelling, and it makes it make more sense. So in this video, you're gonna learn how to play chords that make your music flow and connect with your audience, so you can become a more effective musician and songwriter. So let's get started. I'm Alan Merville, CEO and founder of Music Play, and welcome back to our channel where we help aspiring musicians learn music faster by using the frameworks of musical legends. So let's dive into it. Now we're going to use a reference song to better understand the context of what we're learning. And that reference song is going to be Autumn Leaves. Now Autumn Leaves is a great example of a song with chord progressions that make sense. So after we take a listen, we're going to learn the science behind why it makes sense. So in Autumn Leaves, the chords are resolving naturally, but why? And why is that even important for musicians and songwriters to know and understand? Well, if aspects of music resolve naturally, then it means that those natural resolutions create a sense of expectation and anticipation for the listener. So if you can master what I'm about to teach you, then you can actually start to control the emotional journey of the people who listen to your music. One of the key secrets to creating progressions that make sense is the circle of fifths. Now, I've already done a full deep dive video on the circle of fifths explaining how it all works. You can click here to check that out. But in this video, we're just gonna use a few of the concepts from the circle of fifths. One of those concepts is how harmony naturally resolves up a fourth. So starting on C, we go up a perfect fourth to F. Now this C to F creates a 5-1 pattern, where C is the 5 of F. We go up another perfect fourth from F to B flat. Now we have another 5-1 pattern. F becomes the 5 of B flat. We go up another perfect fourth to E flat. B flat becomes the 5 of E flat, which is our new 1. And then from E flat, we go up a perfect fourth to A flat. We have another 5-1 pattern where E flat is the 5, A flat is the 1. Then we go up another perfect fourth from A flat to D flat, which creates another 5-1 where A flat is the 5, D flat is the 1. Up another perfect fourth from D flat to G flat, right? Where D flat is the 5, G flat is the 1. Then we go up another perfect fourth from G flat to B, 5-1 again. G flat or F sharp, now that we're transitioning. F sharp is the 5, B is the 1. Up another perfect fourth from B to E, where B becomes the 5, E becomes the 1. Up another perfect fourth from E to A, where E becomes the 5, A becomes the 1. Up another perfect fourth from A to D, where A becomes the 5, D becomes the 1. Then up another perfect fourth from D to G, where D becomes the 5 and G becomes the 1. And then we're back to C, where we go up another perfect fourth from G to C, where G is the 5 and C is the 1. So this whole entire cycle actually is a continuous cycle of 5-1 resolutions. Now, 5-1 resolutions are extremely important in music, not only because of the 5-1 bass motion, but also because of tritone resolutions. Now, let's go a little deeper. In every major key, we have one dominant chord. That dominant chord is found at the 5th scale degree. Now, here's what that looks like. So in the key of C major, we have a 1 major 7 at the 1st scale degree, a 2 minor 7 at the 2nd scale degree, a 3 minor 7, a 4 major 7 at the 4th scale degree, a 5 dominant 7 at the 5th scale degree, a 6 minor 7 at the 6th scale degree, and a 7 minor 7 flat 5 at the 7th scale degree. Because of the circle of fifths, we already know that the 5 to 1, and in this case, the 5 dominant and the 1 major 7, is a natural and expected resolution. But the tritone in the dominant chord pushes us even closer to wanting and, dare I say, begging to resolve to the 1 major. Now, a tritone is just an interval. It's an augmented 4th or a diminished 5th. If you want to learn more about tritones, drop a comment down below and let me know. In our dominant chords, we find this tritone interval at our 3rd and flat 7 chord tone. So in our G7 chord tones, we have our 1, which is G, our 3rd, which is B, our 5th, which is D, and our flat 7, which is F. That B and F, the 3rd and flat 7, creates our tritone. Now check this out. Here's how tritones in dominant chords resolve. So the 3rd resolves up a half step, and the flat 7 resolves down a half step, like this. So the 3rd of the dominant chord resolves to the root of the resolution chord, and the flat 7 resolves to the 3rd of the resolution chord. That's the expected and anticipated resolution chord for every dominant chord, which means that our ears are naturally tuned to resolving chords in this very specific way. So we've got the root motion with the circle of fifths, right? Resolving up a 4th from G to C. We have the harmonic resolution with our tritone resolution. Now I want to add one more tool that you can use to create chord progressions that not only make sense, but that push the listener in a particular direction. That tool is tendency tones. Now, tendency tones are simply notes that have a strong tendency to resolve to other notes. Now, if we look at our C major scale, and we play our 1 major triad, these notes that are being played are the most stable tones in this tonal center. So every other note that's diatonic to the C major scale that's not being played, which is D, F, A, and B, are considered tendency tones. And it simply means that each one of these notes tend to want to resolve to one of the stable tones. So the D, or the 2, wants to resolve down to the 1. The 4 wants to resolve down to the 3. The 6 wants to resolve down to the 5. And the 7 wants to resolve up to the 1. Now, just from this example alone, you're probably hearing some pretty familiar melodic ideas. Those are the tendency tones resolving to the notes that they tend to want to resolve to. Now, if we look at all the tendency tones played simultaneously, they actually make up a G9 chord, which again further pushes that 5 to 1, that 5 dominant to 1 major resolution. So we're learning the science behind what makes us as listeners resonate, anticipate, and expect certain musical resolutions. Hey, real quick, if you're getting tons of value from this video, then go ahead and smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so that you're notified each time we release new educational content. Now, when we analyze Autumn Leaves, we can better understand the science behind why the chord progressions naturally push you in a particular direction and why it makes sense. You can see the circle of fifths root motion, the tritone resolutions, and how the tendency tones are being used. So we have the C minor 7 resolving up a fourth to F dominant, which then resolves up a fourth to B flat major 7, which then resolves up a fourth to E flat. And then we have a new set of patterns where an A minor 7 flat 5 resolves up a fourth to D7, which then resolves up a fourth to G minor. We can also find some dominant to 1 resolutions. We can see the F dominant resolving to its 1, B flat major. We can see the D7 resolving to G minor, right? That's another 5 to 1 resolution. Now, there's a couple more interesting things happening here that we're not going to talk about in this particular video. Some major 2-5-1s, some dominant 2-5-1s, some secondary dominants, and other interesting things which we'll get into in our next video. Now, as musicians and songwriters, versatility and experimentation are what allow us to truly be creative. So you can find examples of the concepts that we learned in this video all throughout different genres and styles of music. Today's video is centered around expected and anticipated resolutions. But what happens when you set up an expected resolution and you don't resolve on the anticipated chord? Well, that's called deceptive resolution, and we have an entire video about that. If you want to learn some amazing chord progressions, you can visit our website at musicplay.com. That's where you can access a huge library of chord progressions, but also in-depth music theory and lessons from some of the legends. You can get started for free. Just mention YouTube in the checkout. The link is in the description below. Okay, so now that you know this, in our next video, I'm gonna show you how to build and create your very own chord progression, like some of the best musicians, songwriters, and producers in the world. We're gonna use concepts like harmonic function, 2-5-1s, and really take it up a notch with alternate endings and pivot chords. There's also a couple of tricks that I'll cover in the next video. So tap on the screen right now, and I'll see you there.